My father runs this department. So let's make this quick. The laugh that follows. Sharp, dismissive Casey Dalton. 21. She delivers the line like she's closing a deal, not speaking to a judge. Judge Frank Caprio doesn't blink. Miss Dalton, you're addressing the court. You answer questions. You don't negotiate. Do you understand the charges? I understand this is overblown. That's not what I asked. Her attorney, Nina Park, stands smoothly. Your Honor, my client is ready to resolve this today. We'll pay the fines and move on. Miss Park, sit down. This court is not a payment portal. Quiet words. Heavy impact. Nina Park freezes, then sits. Caprio taps his pen once. Officer Dantes, body cam audio, ready. Yes, Your Honor. Good. And before we roll audio, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe to Order in the Court. It's about to get uncomfortable. The clerk steps forward. Docket 24 to 8891. Commonwealth versus Casey and Dalton charges. Disorderly conduct. Obstruction of a permitted delivery zone. Interference and intimidation of an officer during lawful duty. Citation issued by Officer Marco Reyes. Traffic and Patrol. Thursday, 11:14 a.m. Caprio leans forward. Miss Dalton, did you get a copy of the citation at the scene? I did. And did you read it? I looked at it. That's not the same. Miss Park rises again, cautiously. Your Honor, we believe paying the fines today resolves this. My client has no prior record. Caprio cuts her off. I didn't ask about her record. I asked if she's prepared to address the facts. Sit down. He flips a page. Noted, prior administrative warning from campus parking enforcement last fall. Not criminal, but context matters. Miss Dalton, what happened there? Casey shrugs. I parked in a reserved spot by accident. I moved the car. After how long? I don't remember. The note says, 2 hours, the complaint filed by a facilities coordinator blocked from a loading dock. Caprio sets the page down. That's not punishment. That's pattern. Miss Park tries again. Your Honor, my client acknowledges she could have handled Thursday better. She's willing to pay and move on. Caprio's voice sharpens. Paying a fine teaches one thing. How to write a check. I want the story. Walk me through Thursday morning. Casey exhales, annoyed. I was meeting a friend near Westminster and Union. A delivery truck was blocking the cab. I told the driver to move. He wouldn't. I parked behind him to make a point. You obstructed a permitted delivery zone. He was taking up the whole block. Was his truck displaying a valid delivery permit? Silence. Miss Dalton. I didn't check. Caprio's gaze sharpens. That's a problem. He did have one. Let me read a line from Daniel Ortiz. The driver, the permit window is tight. Delay cancels the slot. Casey waves a hand. No one got hurt. Miss Park objects. Your Honor, we're giving emotional context, not material to the citation. Caprio's voice cuts through. Counselor, harm isn't just injury. It's disruption of lawful process. Mr. Ortiz had a legal right to that space. Your client blocked it, then escalated when corrected. That's not misunderstanding. That's obstruction. He turns to the officer near the side wall. Officer Reyes, read your narrative into the record. Officer Marco Reyes steps forward, calm, precise. At 11:02 a.m., I responded to a complaint of a vehicle obstructing a permitted delivery zone at Westminster and Union. I observed a gray sedan parked directly behind a commercial delivery truck, displaying a valid municipal permit. The sedan's driver, later identified as Casey Dalton, was standing near the truck, arguing with the driver. I informed Miss Dalton she was obstructing a permitted zone and needed to move. She refused. She photographed my badge and stated, "My father's office will handle you." When I began writing the citation, she added, "Enjoy traffic school duty." Caprio pauses. Officer Reyes, did you perceive that statement as a threat? Yes, Your Honor. Casey leans forward. That was sarcasm. I was frustrated. Frustration doesn't move a truck, Miss Dalton. Caprio nods to the bailiff. Officer Dantes, play the body cam audio, just the relevant exchange. A hiss of static. Then case is clipped. Sharp voice, enjoy traffic school duty. Caprio lets silence linger. Miss Dalton, Your father is Police Chief Robert Dalton of the Providence Police Department. Correct. Yes. And when you said traffic school duty, were you referring to a potential reassignment for Officer Reyes? I was being sarcastic. Officer Reyes, how did you interpret it? As leverage, Your Honor, an implied consequence for doing my job. Caprio turns to the clerk. Miss Reyes, any contacts to this court or the department before today's hearing? The clerk flips through the log. Yes, Your Honor. 2 missed calls and 1 voicemail, all from a number registered to the office of the Chief, Providence Police Department, all within 1 hour of the citation. Play the voicemail. A controlled, professional male voice. This is calling from Chief Dalton's office regarding case 24-8891. We'd like to discuss the matter and explore resolution options before it escalates. Please return this call as soon as possible. Miss Park rises. Your Honor, my client is not responsible for calls made by third parties. This is prejudicial. Caprio interrupts. Overruled. Pressures on process are relevant. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal conduct. This is documentation. Transparency on the record. Casey shifts. I didn't ask anyone to call. Maybe not, Caprio says, but someone thought it would help. He looks to the clerk. Is Mr. Daniel Ortiz available for a brief statement? He is, Your Honor. By phone. A steady, matter-of-fact male voice fills the room. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm a licensed commercial delivery driver. I had a valid 30-minute permit for Westminster and Union. My delivery window was 11 to 11:30 a.m. At 10:58, the zone was clear. At 11:05, a sedan parked directly behind me, blocking my exit. The driver, Miss Dalton, told me I was hogging the street and refused to move. I called non-emergency dispatch. Officer Reyes arrived at 11:12. By the time the vehicle cleared, I missed my delivery window. 1 missed 30-minute slot triggers a reroute and liquidated damages. Casey mutters, that's not my fault. Caprio fixes her with a look. Miss Dalton, if you have something to say it clearly. I said that's not my fault. You should have planned better. Caprio's voice is sharp. Mr. Ortiz had a permit. You didn't. He planned. You blocked. There's no gray area. Daniel Ortiz continues. Your Honor, I don't want money from her. I want people to understand delivery permits exist for a reason. We're not illegally parked. We're working. Enforcement neutrality matters. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Your statement is on the record. The line clicks off. Caprio picks up another document. Miss Reyes, this is a text message screenshot submitted by the prosecution. Can you read it? She reads, from Casey Dalton to an unnamed contact. Timestamp 11:26 a.m. Thursday. Got cited. He'll make calls. Don't sweat it. Casey's jaw tightens. That was private. It was discoverable, Caprio says. Miss Dalton, let me lay out a timeline. Citation issued at 11:14 a.m. Your text sent at 11:26 a.m. Call from your father's office begin at 11:48 a.m. Voicemail left at 12:03 p.m. Someone moved fast. You didn't ask him to, but you expected it. Influence attempts don't rewrite events. Nina Park stands, cautiously. Your Honor, I request the remainder of this hearing be off the public calendar. Media attention could create bias and distract from a fair resolution. Caprio's gaze is steady, calm, piercing. Miss Park, the remedy for bias is sunlight, not shadows. We're staying on the record. He fixes Casey with a famed look. I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions. Did you obstruct a permitted delivery zone? Yes. Did you photograph Officer Reyes' badge and invoke your father's office? Casey hesitates. I took a picture. That's not a no. Did you invoke your father's office? Yes. Did you make a statement Officer Reyes reasonably perceived as a threat to his assignment? I was being sarcastic. That's not a no, Miss Dalton. The record shows intimidation. Casey's voice cracks slightly. Your Honor, this feels targeted. People block spaces every day and don't end up in court. You're not targeted. You're noticed. Most people don't photograph badge numbers. Most people don't say, my father's office will handle you. Most people don't trigger calls to the court within an hour. That's not targeting. That's consequence. Nina Park shifts uneasily. Your Honor, Miss Dalton is a college student with no criminal record. A single lapse shouldn't define her future. I agree. That's why I'm treating this as a learning gap, not a character verdict. The prior administrative warning was a whisper. This citation is a sentence. If we don't speak clearly now, the next consequence might be an officer who hesitates to enforce the law because he fears retaliation. 5, 7, 10, 12 seconds. Silence.no1 moves. No one speaks. Casey stays at the table. Nina Park's pen hovers. Officer Reyes stands still near the wall. Then Caprio speaks quietly. Accountability falls silent so truth can speak. Here are my findings. The evidence supports all three charges. Officer Reyes' narrative is credible, corroborated by body cam audio, the tow log, and Mr. Ortiz's permit record. Miss Dalton obstructed a permitted delivery zone, escalated the situation with intimidation tactics, and invoked her father's office in a way Officer Reyes reasonably perceived as a threat. Caprio pauses. This court does not weigh cases based on titles, connections, or family position. Conduct is the only currency here. Miss Dalton, your father's office does not intervene. Your status does not erase harm. The oar is not a velvet rope. He turns a page. I also note the prior administrative warning. That warning was instructional, not punitive. You were told once that reserved spaces have function. You chose not to internalize that lesson. Privilege hid the consequences. Now they are visible. Consequences teach what privilege concealed. Caprio recites the fines. Base fines total $520. Disorderly conduct, $150. Obstruction of a permitted zone, $300. Interference with an officer, $70. No towing or administrative fees are assessed to you. Mr. Ortiz bore those costs because of your conduct. Casey exhales sharply. Caprio raises a hand. I am not finished. I am staying $280 of that total, contingent on your full completion of a restorative accountability plan. If completed fully and on time, that portion is remitted. If not, it is reinstated and you pay the full amount. Here is what the plan requires. First, a written apology to Officer Marco Reyes and Daniel Ortiz. Not a form letter, not a PR statement. A genuine apology that names exactly what you did and what you learned. Deliver it in person if both men agree. If either declines, mail it and the court will confirm receipt. Second, 120 hours of community service with the Providence Police Department Community Relations Division. No photo ops, no press. You will handle resident support calls, assist with permit education outreach, schedule liaison tasks, and address direct constituent questions. The division commander will submit a log to the court. Third, co-assist 3 public workshops on delivery and accessible zone rules. No cameras, no branding, just education. Fourth, write and submit a short public service announcement script for teens about compliance and respect during traffic stops. Vetted by this court. No family mentions, no branding, no grandstanding. Only truth. Fifth, complete a youth driver reflection course covering obstructions, impact, permit function, and the ethics of compliance. Certification of completion filed with the court. Sixth, submit an 800-word written reflection on what you learned from this process. No slogans, no fluff, plain truth. Caprio sets his pen down. Mercy is not a discount. It is a contract. Additionally, Caprio continues, I am issuing the following recommendations on the record to the Municipal Court Administration, the Traffic Division, and the Providence Police Department. 1. Establish an ex parte influence log for all cases. Any off-record communication attempts related to active cases will be documented and published in a weekly public summary. Point 2. Implement a mandatory recusal or supervisor co-sign protocol. If any officer, clerk, or court staff member is contacted by command-level office or elected official regarding an active case, that staff member must either recuse themselves or obtain a supervisor's co-signature on all related actions. Point 3. Develop a delivery and accessible zone enforcement escalation guide. Violations that obstruct permitted work must trigger immediate tow or clear priority action, executed with neutral scripting. Point 4. Launch a court clerk hotline for interference attempts. Any effort to influence a case through intimidation, connections, or coercion can be reported anonymously. Every report will be investigated. Point 5. Establish an officer retaliation shield notice procedure. Officers who report influence attempts will receive documented protection from retaliatory reassignment or discipline. Point 6. Distribute a teen driver education module through high schools and colleges, covering the real-world impact of traffic violations, especially those involving intimidation or leverage. Caprio pauses, letting the weight of the plan settle. If you agree that influence should never touch traffic cases, subscribe to Order in the Court so this model spreads. The courtroom door opens. A man in uniform enters, mid-50s, silver at the temples, bearing unmistakable command. Your Honor, I'm Chief Robert Dalton. I'd like a moment to discuss my daughter's case. Caprio remains seated. Chief, this is an active hearing. You may observe, but we will not discuss the case outside the record. I'm not asking for special treatment. I am asking to resolve this quietly, for everyone's benefit. Caprio's gaze sharpens. Chief, quiet resolutions are how patterns continue. This case is being handled on the record, in open court, like every other case. Casey interrupts, her voice firm. Dad, stop. This is my hearing, not yours. Chief Dalton turns to her, surprised. Caprio's eyes lock on the courtroom, razor sharp. This is not your case to manage, Chief. Your daughter has counsel. She has a voice. Step back and let her use it. The chief hesitates, then nods, moving quietly to the back row. Over the next 4 months, Casey completes the accountability plan step by step. Week 1. She drafts her apology. The court rejects it. Too polished, too vague. She rewrites it. Sharper, honest. Officer Reyes agrees to meet at the station. The conversation is brief, uncomfortable, and necessary. She listens more than she speaks. Daniel Ortiz declines in person, but accepts the written apology. He emails the court. She named what she did wrong. That is enough. Weeks 2 through 8, Casey logs 120 hours with community relations. She answers permit questions, schedules ride-alongs for neighborhood councils, assists with complaint intake. One resident tells her, access and permits aren't favors, they're agreements. She writes it down. Week 9. She co-assists 3 workshops on delivery and accessible zones. No cameras, no posts, just residents, delivery drivers, and city planners discussing real-world scenarios. Week 10. She submits the PSA script. The court rejects it. Too much PR, not enough accountability. She rewrites plainly. Second draft approved. The driver reflection course takes another 2 weeks. She completes it without complaint. The ledger is simple. 120 hours logged, 3 workshops completed, 1 behavior corrected. Officer Reyes tells the court. She showed up. That's the first step. Caprio addresses the audience. Should every intimidation case include mandatory service with the agencies involved? Yes or no? Comment below and subscribe to Order in the Court. 4 months after the initial hearing, Casey returns, alone. No counsel, no father, no entourage. Caprio reviews her submitted documents, apologies, service log, PSA script, course certificate, written reflection. Miss Dalton, I've read your reflection. I want to hear you summarize it in your own words. No script. Casey stands. I thought obstruction was just about parking. I didn't understand that permits are part of a system, delivery windows, enforcement neutrality, economic consequences. When I blocked Mr. Ortiz, I didn't just inconvenience him. I cost him a job. She pauses. I also didn't realize how much I use my father's position as a shield. I've spent my whole life assuming someone would smooth things over. That's not accountability. That's avoidance. What did you learn from Officer Reyes? Caprio asks. That respect isn't rank. It's behavior. When I photographed his badge and said what I said, I wasn't being sarcastic. I was leveraging power I didn't earn. That's intimidation, not frustration. Caprio nods. You stopped borrowing power and started earning character. He signs a form. I'm remitting $200 of the stayed portion. You still owe $320 total. You'll pay it in installments over 6 months. The court will monitor compliance. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the people who taught you what I couldn't. 6 months later, the policies take hold. The ex-parte influence log is published weekly on the municipal court website. Officers complete training on the recusal and supervisor co-sign protocols. 3 cases are flagged in the first quarter, all reassigned cleanly, without incident. The delivery zone enforcement guide is adopted citywide. Response times for obstructed permitted zones improve by 35%. The Clark hotline receives 12 reports of interference in the first 3 months. 7 lead to formal reviews. The Officer Retaliation Shield Notice is incorporated into department policy. 2 officers file reports. Both receive documented protection. Cases PSA script reaches 19 high schools and is included in driver education materials. It's not viral. It's not celebrated. It's used. And that is enough. Point 1. Delivery driver emails the court. My nephew watched that video and asked why blocking a truck matters. We had a real conversation. Thank you. On a quiet Friday afternoon, Caprio closes his last case of the week. Before leaving, he writes a single principle on a note card and pins it to the bulletin board behind his bench. Titles expire. Habits remain. Choose the ones you can live with. He thinks of Casey Dalton, Officer Marco Reyes, Daniel Ortiz, waiting in traffic, permit in hand. One sentence echoes in his mind. Something he told Casey during her final appearance. Power that doesn't listen becomes cruelty. He turns off the light. Locks the door. Dramatization for storytelling and education, not legal advice or reporting.